episode is brought to you by Premensal.
Supporting perimenopause is it's like a gateway to more inclusive leadership. It's not about special treatment. It's about creating a workplace that works for everyone. So to me, doing the right thing is not, you don't get a gold star. It's not woke. What it is, it's smart business.
Welcome to Thriving in Menopause, the podcast that helps you navigate midlife with power, purpose, and the facts you really need. Today, we're tackling a conversation that's long overdue: how perimenopause is impacting women in the workplace. From brain fog and burnout to anxiety and sleepless nights, the symptoms are real, and for many women, they're forcing a career pause or even a full stop. Our guest today is the brilliant and bold Shelly Horton, TV presenter, journalist, and staunch perimenopause advocate who has just released the incredible new book, I'm Your Peri Godmother, which is inspired by her own intense struggles with perimenopause. Those struggles also led her to becoming the founder of Don't Sweat It, a company that delivers perimenopause education and training to workplaces across Australia. The work that Shelly is doing to change the conversation and experience of perimenopause for so many women is really quite profound. So we are honoured to have her back on the show. Thanks for joining us, Shelly.
Thanks for having me back. I'm so excited to chat to you about this. It's something I'm very passionate about.
Yeehaw. Well, let's dive in. You've been very open about your perimenopause journey and just how challenging it was, but can you just recap for those who may not be aware, just what you went through and specifically how it affected you from a work perspective?
Well, first things first, I went into perimenopause at age 45 and I had never heard the word perimenopause before. So that was the first problem. I didn't know what I was battling. And the symptoms hit me like a steamroller. So the thing was, I was running Shell Shocked Media, my company. I was on TV every week. To the outside world, I probably looked like I was living my best life. But behind the scenes, I was sobbing on the bathroom floor. I was battling insomnia. I had brain fog. I had panic attacks. And for the first time in my entire life, I suffered from crushing depression. And with all of that going on, I completely lost my confidence. And I said to my husband that I wanted to quit my job at Channel 9, even though I love my work and I'd spent 30 years, establishing myself. The negative self-talk and the weight of dealing with all of these symptoms just meant I just wanted to lighten my load. And to me, leaving work was the way to do it. And that's kind of when I realized that if that's happening to me, that's happening to a lot of women, and a lot of smart, capable women are being sidelined in their careers because their hormones are wreaking havoc and no one gave them the heads up. No one's been helping them. So that's why I felt like doing some workplace education and writing my book is my way of helping other women and younger generations.
So how did you kind of claw your way out of that desperate situation that you were in?
So unfortunately, the first GP I went to when I had these symptoms kind of palmed me off and said I wasn't managing my stress well. So that sent me into a bit of a spiral, and I didn't seek help again for nearly 9 months, which I now know meant that my symptoms got so much worse. My depression in particular got very, very bad. And it was my husband, when I said to him I wanted to quit my job, he sat me down and said, I don't think there's anything wrong with you, but I think there might be something wrong with the chemicals in your brain. Let's go and speak to someone together. So that's when I went and saw Dr. Ginny Mansberg, and she put me straight on HRT and an antidepressant. It's not recommended that you go on antidepressants anymore, but I believe at the time, because my symptoms hadn't been treated for so long, I think I did need it. It was very hard to come off it, but now all of my symptoms are managed with my HRT, so that's how I got my life back. But I also feel like I need to say it wasn't a quick fix. Mm-hmm. Like I think that some people think HRT is like the golden ticket and everything will be better. It still took a lot of work, a lot of lifestyle changes to make sure that I got myself back. But hey, it is 2025. I'm 51 and I am back, baby. So it is possible.
Exactly. And just so great that you're just now just doing, you're so proactive in helping others that, so that they don't go through what you went through. So you've called perimenopause a hidden workplace crisis. What does that look like in real terms for women? And why do you think no one's talking about it?
I honestly think that even though we are very comfortable talking about mental health now, there's still a lot of shame and stigma when it comes to talking about perimenopause and menopause. I think there's embarrassment and a little bit of shame. It's, identifies you as aging. And the symptoms can be really embarrassing, like flooding periods and horrible, hot flushes. And we've pretty much normalized for so many years, not even so many years, for entire lifetime, that women will just suffer in silence. But there was a great study done in the UK that looked at the impact of perimenopause and menopause symptoms in the workplace. And it showed that 1 in 10 women actually quit their job because of their symptoms. 14% dropped to part-time and 8% say no to promotions. So when you're looking at those sort of figures, this is not a niche issue for workplaces. This is a productivity disaster. And midlife women are the backbone of so many industries, and we're just letting them quietly walk out the door. And that's not okay.
Yeah. I mean, what else do we risk? I mean, it's economically, personally, societally, when women leave the workforce in midlife because of, untreated symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, that then feeds into the pay gap. That means women are having less super. And these women aren't quitting their jobs and retiring at 47.
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're just leaving a high-pressure job and taking something less stressful because they feel like that's all they can manage. Whereas if workplaces are proactive and step up and educate women, they can get help and get treatment and be back to being at their best. So I really do think workplaces are where this education needs to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's tricky because it's a deeply personal topic. It can be an embarrassing one, but then we've got to deal with it on a professional level. So how can women start the conversation with their boss or HR without feeling, awkward or embarrassed?
Look, I think that it's important that we meet your employer where they're at. So I don't think you go in, waving a packet of tampons and, stamping your feet. I think you go in with some facts and some empathy and some emotion with it. So it's like, we know that the Australian government did a study that showed that 70% of women experience their perimenopause or symptoms at work, and 83% say that it affected them negatively. So if you go in and you say, look, I'm experiencing some health challenges that are affecting my work because of perimenopause. I'm managing it the best I can, but I'd love to discuss some support options. You're not asking for special treatment. You're basically asking your workplace to support you to stay productive. And that's good business for them as well.
So what can some of these support mechanisms actually look like? Because some women might go, well, I don't even know what I'm asking for here. You don't.
Yeah, well, I think that's where education is key. And we need to educate men and women. So everyone in the workplace is on the same page. So, when you are doing education around mental health in the workplace, you don't ask the people who've got depression and anxiety to put their hand up. You educate everyone. And that's what it needs to be when it comes to perimenopause and menopause. And you know what? You can't blame workplaces for not educating everyone when they didn't know about it, because women have kept it silent for so long. So to me, it could be as simple as, a 1-hour webinar that just gets everyone on the same page about what the symptoms are, what the treatments are available. Make sure everything's evidence-based, so, you don't have someone tacking on some, herbal Amway quick fix, which doesn't actually work.
Yeah.
But keep it very science-based and make it something that is acknowledged and other workers can have empathy for, and also sometimes maybe even recognize the symptoms in a colleague when they haven't recognized them, because I honestly was so deep within the symptoms that I just thought it was me. And I think that a lot of women feel like that. So if I had had that 1 hour of education, if I'd had my book, it would have been helpful. Part of the reason that I wrote I'm Your Fairy Godmother is I knew about menopause, but I thought it was for older ladies. I thought it was for women in their 60s and their periods just stopped and that was it. So when I was 45, 46, I didn't think that I was in that sort of age bracket. So for me, I think we need to educate women earlier. So if you know that the average age of menopause when your periods stop completely is 51, then perimenopause can last up to 10 years. So you're actually talking about 41-year-olds who need to know about this.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's actually really important that we get that information out there and remove the stigma that it's an old lady issue. It is midlife when you are thriving, kicking goals. A lot of women are, managing the kids, managing elderly parents, running the household and running a business. Like there is a lot going on, and perimenopause can just take your feet out from underneath you.
Yeah.
Hot flushes? No sweat. Try Premensal Menopause products to relieve common menopausal symptoms for both perimenopausal and postmenopausal women. Premensal understands that hot flushes and night sweats are not the only things going on in your life. This is why Premensal has added 2 new products to their range. New Premensal Libido and Energy, because face it, we all could do with a boost of both. And new Premensal Brain Fog to help increase short-term memory, mental recall, and reduce cognitive fatigue. Now, where did I put my keys? Premensal provides premium holistic supplement care for women using evidence-based ingredients for products you can trust. Premensal is here to help you take control of your own health and live your best life. Plus, check out our brand new look in-store now. Always read the label and follow directions for use.
Totally. I mean, how can we, this is a hard one, how can we just cope on a day-to-day basis when we are feeling sleep deprived, we're anxious, we're itchy, and we just want to rage quit? Like, how do we get through that? Any tips?
Okay. Can I just say, been there, done that? Yeah. Okay. So first of all, the most important thing is stop pretending you're fine when you're drowning.
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor and get some evidence-based treatment. And then on top of that, you have to go back to the basics. You need to make sure that your sleep is protected. I have a toddler kind of routine to get to sleep at night. There is no screens. There's a dark room. My room is cold. I have my ear pods in listening to a novel to go to sleep. It is military precision. But I know that if I don't get my 7 hours sleep, my symptoms are worse the next day. And, you can't go into work if you've had 2 hours sleep and you're just feeling miserable. You're not going to be productive. So get your sleep sorted. Really look at nourishing yourself with good food. Let's just say a lot of this I will tell you what to do, but I may not follow it myself.
Yeah.
But I still get that 3 p.m. Oh my God, quick shove some sugar in my throat so I can continue for the rest of the day. But we know that if you are eating, that Mediterranean style diet, your symptoms are improved. And for me, a massive thing that has helped is regular exercise. And again, I know this is sort of like preaching to the converted, but for me, getting up and doing a walk each morning, first of all, I got the dopamine hit, I'm getting some melatonin, and I found it wasn't to lose weight. I wish I could say, I've walked every day for a year and I've lost all this weight. I haven't. But you know what? I've felt better. I have felt well. I think it's really good for your mental health and it just sets you up for a better day. And then when you're at work, if you're 98% of women who go on HIT, their hot flushes stop. Of course, I was in that 2%. My hot flushes did not stop. So I have the aircon on and I have a small fan on my desk. I also it's been 7 years. I know that I need to manage my energy level. So I used to, MC events and be up on stage for 8 hours and then expect to like bounce back and do it all again the next day. Now I actually make sure that if I've got a really busy day where I'm expending a lot of energy, the next day can be an admin day. So you can manage your workflow a little bit differently. And I think the most important thing is to remember this is temporary. Like it will get better, but it doesn't mean it's not real. And it doesn't mean it's not impacting you, every day.
What about the actual rights that women do have in this area? Like, I guess, you say things like, manage your workflow. I'm sure a lot of women are in situations where like, oh, well, that's easy to say, but not with my boss or whatever. How can women advocate for themselves if their workplace is dismissive or uninformed or if it's set up in a way that's not helpful?
Yeah, look, under the Fair Work Act and the anti-discrimination laws in Australia, you do have the right to request reasonable adjustments. So if your symptoms are impacting your work, your employer does have a duty to support you. So know your rights and bring the facts. But as I said before, meet them where they're at. If your employer is, and it's entirely likely that they've never heard the word perimenopause before, educate them, let them know that this is something that has been, bubbling along in silence for many, many years, and it's actually impacting their business. And that's something as simple as having a workplace webinar or get me to come and speak at your conference or get me to come and do a lunch and learn.
Yeah.
1 hour of education can actually make such an impact on workplace culture. And just even having midlife women feel seen and heard and appreciated. It's a very low-cost way of making a big difference.
So with the work that you've been doing, what are some of the policies that you have found are really making the most difference for women? Are we talking, is it menopause leave, flexible hours, manager training, what things like that?
Yeah. Okay, so here's where I get controversial. The unions are saying and campaigning for menopause leave, and I am dead against it.
Right.
There is no research globally that says menopause leave is effective because menopause leave is an extra 12 days a year. Menopause is 365 days a year.
Yeah.
It's not helpful to have that time off. And that is a huge cost burden to employers when in fact, by having some educational webinars, having a workplace menopause policy, and the policy that Dr. Jenny and I have created is a living, breathing document. So we are constantly updating the latest research. So instead of it being like a dusty PDF that just lives on the intranet, it's something that women can go to and get the latest information and see what's happening. And then those companies who I consider like the gold star, who are just absolutely nailing it. Ginny and I did incredible training with Red Cross Lifeblood.
Mm-hmm.
So they not only did they do a survey to see how to test the waters and see how everything was, they then realized most of their staff were midlife. So it was, in fact, a huge issue. So they got our menopause policy, we did some educational webinars, and then we did extra training for 78 of their staff. Now, they called it Support the Pause. We call it Menopause Mentors. So it's kind of like if you think about in a workplace when you have mental health education, you might have someone who is nominated as the mental health first aid officer, like they've got a little bit more education. Same with menopause mentors. We are not expecting them to be doctors. We are not expecting them to diagnose anything, but we are expecting that they will have had a bit of extra training so they know what treatments are available and also can help with how to talk about it at work, how to bring it up without being offensive. Those kind of important role plays, because what I found, I also did an incredible session with Westpac where they had a group of men after we'd done some, combined webinars. They had a group of their male leaders say, can we please have a men's only menopause webinar? And at first I was like, oh, for God's sake, can't we have one thing? And then I checked my Meno Rage and it was incredible because these men said, they didn't ever want to take away from women asking questions in a combined webinar, but they wanted to also ask some really basic questions because they didn't even really know about cycles. They didn't know. So they were like, didn't want to be embarrassed by their questions. They also were like, how do I bring it up without sticking my foot in it? Like I don't, they were very empathetic and wanted to know how to help. And then on top of that, they're like, we're dealing with it with our wives at home. So this is going to help my home life as well. So it ended up being one of the favorite webinars that I've ever done, even though I bristled at the idea of it.
I mean, it's tricky, isn't it? Because this is what they're saying in a nice, safe space. But I guess then, and obviously they sound quite evolved. But I mean, a lot of it, I guess, comes back to that whole stigma. How do we begin to shift that, just that whole stigma about talking about it?
I think the whole thing is we need to normalize having conversations about it. I now remember when I was, at school and when I first started work, you would never discuss periods at work and you'd put your tampon up your jumper sleeve and, be very embarrassed about it. I now look at these younger generations and they just openly discuss it. I was talking to my teenage nephew the other day who's 18 and he's like, oh yeah, my girlfriend's got a period, so we're just going to have a chill day today. I nearly fell off my chair. The fact that they are just so comfortable discussing it, I have so much hope for the future. I think it's going to get easier and easier. What we need to is sort of break down that stigma that Gen X is ready to bash through, but that boomers never wanted to discuss. It was the keep quiet, soldier on, stiff upper lip kind of attitude.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what message would you send to leaders, both women and men, about why supporting perimenopausal staff should be a strategic priority and not just a side issue?
I think just look at the facts and the bottom line. So if you're looking that 1 in 10 women will walk away from their job due to their symptoms, you are losing talent. You are losing future leaders. So this isn't a personal issue. This is a pipeline issue, and you need to take retention seriously. And I think you need to stop losing brilliant women to something that is incredibly treatable. And if you approach it with that way of, this is a wake-up call for everyone, and if you value loyalty and experience and emotional intelligence within your workplace, then you can't afford to ignore perimenopause. This is your time to lean in.
And just, what about smaller businesses? Who may not have big HR teams or big sort of, policy systems going on. How can they still support their staff going through perimenopause?
Look, I run my own business, so I'm all about small businesses. I think when it comes to a small business, it's about having compassion. You don't need a massive policy. What you do need is to talk openly with your team and say, what do you need? How can I help you? And maybe that is a 1 hour education. Maybe it is, having someone come and speak at the workplace. That is a very low cost way of keeping everyone on the same page. And then I think it does come down to just being a bit more flexible and helping women who are in the throes of it manage their calendar as much as possible to work with when they're at their best. And I totally understand with small business. Even, when I was told I might need a hysterectomy, I panicked because I'm like, I can't afford 6 weeks off. I don't get any leave. So it is, I completely empathize with small business, but I also want to say, once you get your worker thriving because they've sought treatment and they're looking after themselves, they are not just back. They are then super loyal because they don't want to leave and go and have to start at a workplace where they haven't heard the word perimenopause before. So there are advantages. And I think with small businesses, you can be more nimble because you don't have the clunkiness of a massive corporation that needs everything done, in triplicate.
Yeah, exactly.
If anyone remembers in triplicate, that means you're in menopause.
Oh, sad but true. So just finally, if workplaces did truly embrace and support women through this transition, what kind of change might we see? Not just for women, but across the whole culture of leadership.
I think that you would see thriving workplaces. We want our strong, smart, experienced women to stay. That means teams will be stronger. The culture will shift from reactive to proactive. And I think supporting perimenopause is it's like a gateway to more inclusive leadership. It's not about special treatment. It's about creating a workplace that works for everyone. So to me, doing the right thing is not, you don't get a gold star. It's not woke. What it is, it's smart business.
Yeah.
It is smart business. So if you take all of the emotion out of it and look at your bottom line and dollars and cents, it makes sense to invest in educating women and men about this stage and making sure that you can make a few tweaks to make sure that everyone is absolutely giving their best at work.
Fantastic. Well, look, that's it for today's episode of Thriving in Menopause, but a huge thank you, Shelly Horton, for your honesty, insight and passion in breaking down the workplace taboos. It's always a pleasure to chat to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, if you found today's episode helpful, please share it with a friend, a colleague, or even your boss. Let's keep the conversation going and make menopause support a standard, not a surprise. If you liked this episode, please rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to pick up a copy of Prevention Magazine. I'm Zoe Mernier. See you next time.